I saw another creator say something to the effect of like the regime and the Republicans' entire plan pivoted around us rioting, especially on No King's Day. Hang on, let me see if I can find it real quick.
I have a theory, and please correct me if I am wrong, because I very well could be, that a lot of the plans when it comes to Project 2025 include, we're at one of those parts right now of Project 2025 or Project Esther, whatever kind of plan that they have. Their plans, at least from observation, was to push forward their agenda, their takeover, and to put forward all these authoritarian plans. Their ideas, would be pushed out, and they're expecting people to fight back. They're expecting riots. That's literally what they were expecting, because they saw what happened in 2020. They saw what happened in 2016. They saw all of these protests and all these riots, and they were under the assumption of thinking that if they pushed hard enough, that people would fight back.
Okay, obviously go watch that creator's entire video because he makes a number of interesting points. And he brought up the fact that he thinks it's Project 2025 that hinges on this response from the people of like outright rioting. And I hadn't really correlated that before, right? I could tell that Donald Trump really wants us to be violent. I could tell that the Republicans ahead of No King's Day were trying to frame it as if it was inevitable that we were going to be violent, and we deprived them of their narrative. But I think he makes a really, really good point, which is that Project 2025 success pivots on us rioting, of us giving them the response that they are so desperately, publicly, overtly craving. I think he's right. I think that the fact that the Republicans were just like, please be violent in anticipation of No King's Day, the fact that they are allowing, and I would say the regime is encouraging ICE to push against, nonviolent protesters engaging in their protected free speech. They're trying to manufacture riots. They are trying on purpose to stoke violence. I think that this creator is right. Project 2025 relies on us giving them what they want. And they're not getting it. They're not getting it, which is why the language is becoming more incendiary. It's why the actions of ICE are far more violent, why they are escalating. It's why Trump is so desperate to put the military in our cities, because he wants us to freak out and respond with violence, because Project 2025 is founded on white supremacy, the patriarchy, and Christian nationalism, all three of which have violence at their very core. They're all about coercive control via violence. And I'm not going to crow too loudly here, but for all of the other people on the left, especially white men on the left, who are like, nonviolence is just passivity, nonviolence is ineffectual. First of all, y'all grossly misunderstand and misrepresent what nonviolent direct action is. Right, like anytime somebody says nonviolence is peaceful or passive, or a pacifist movement, I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Sit down and shut up. But I'll try and communicate that in a de-escalated way, which I'm not doing right now, but okay, bear with me. So when we see Project 2025 needing to involve violence and anticipating that we would respond out of violence, that is because their whole mindset, their whole worldview is rooted in violence as a successful strategy, in believing that power comes through violent, coercive control. The fact that they initiate with violence in an attempt to control us, and they believe that we will respond with violence when we choose nonviolent direct action, when we choose tactical frivolity, like we've been using here in Portland, Oregon, it breaks their paradigm. It deprives them of control of the situation. It deprives them of their narrative. It deprives them of the ability to advance their plan, because we are not following their rules. I know people said early on in the regime, right, we saw so many establishment Democrats who were like trying to play by a rule book that Republicans threw out the window. And we're like, we need to stop this, right? We need to stop acting like the rules of engagement that we are so used to, that civic discourse and like normal politics still exist. They don't. Republicans have thrown that rule book out the window, and they are now using a different rule book. Right, they stopped using the Constitution and started using Project 2025 and an authoritarian playbook. And those are built on a framework of white supremacy, the patriarchy, Christian nationalism and violence as perceived power. That kind of a system does not plan for, does not anticipate the power of nonviolent direct action, nonviolent resistance strategies. It breaks their brain. It's just like they stop playing by the rule book of the Constitution. We could be like, nah, fuckers. No, we're not going to play by your rule book. We're not going to play your game. We are going to get control of the narrative. We're going to deprive you of the actions that you need to advance your evil, cruel, terrible, awful plans. This is the power of nonviolence. I saw another creator a few days ago who said something like, I've never seen a civil war not take before. And that's exactly what we're experiencing right now. They want violence so that they can violently put it down. They want us to riot so that they can justify brutalizing our bodies. They need us to act in a certain way in order to advance their plans, and we aren't giving it to them. They need a violent insurrection from us. And why would we give them what they want? Why would we play into their hand? A creator that I responded to the other day kind of poo-pooed, looked down his nose at the hippies putting flowers in the barrels of guns. Nonviolence is not just hippy-dippy shit like he was trying to make it out to be. It is a tactical choice. It is a very specific strategy that sucks all of the oxygen out of their plans. They want to start a fire and we're going to smother it. Again, look at the ICE protests here in Portland. What you are seeing is a greater and greater commitment to nonviolent tactics, to embracing the whimsy, the silliness, to deprive the regime of their false narrative. He has said that our cities are overrun with crime and violent thugs and criminals and Antifa terrorists. This is what authoritarians do, right? They say, we need to protect you from criminals. We need to keep you safe. We need to take away your rights in order to keep you safe. If we show very clearly that we are non-threatening, then what is it that the regime needs to keep us safe from? If we show that we are entirely non-threatening in, blow up unicorn outfits, kids in sparkly outfits on roller skates, bananas playing the clarinet. If we are entirely non-threatening, then what is the threat that the regime needs to protect us from? Ahead of No King's Day, we saw the Republicans like Mike Johnson lie through their teeth and falsely claim that No Kings was going to be a They Hate America rally. It was going to be a bunch of violent extremists. They were trying to create this framework that there is a schism in America and that Republicans are like the patriotic ones and we're the ones who hate America, making it much easier for them to justify trying to stoke a civil war, which again, I'm sorry I can't find the video, but as that creator was saying, he's never seen a civil war not take the way that it is not taking in the United States. We're not playing their game. We're not taking the bait. Republicans tried to say that No King's Day was going to be anti-American. Cool. We made it really patriotic. Maybe I need to make a whole nother video about gray rocking because I think too many people who've not had to deal with a malignant narcissist in their life don't understand the power of gray rocking. And that's essentially a lot of what we're doing right now. They want us to riot. So we're like, no thank you. They're highly emotionally dysregulated and have a propensity for brutality. And so they expect the same out of us. They know that if we were to hit them, they would hit back twice as hard. So of course, they assume that if they hit us, that we'll do the same. And we're just like, I prefer not to. They're trying really hard to scare us. And so instead of being scared and lashing out in fear, we're like, would you like some cookies? I just really want you to think, if you're like, I'm tired of this nonviolence shit, when can we start rioting? I really want you to think about whether or not you are playing right into the hand of the regime. Whether your temptation to want to engage in violent resistance is simply doing the work of the fascists for them. They are trying to light a fire in the United States of America. And so we have a responsibility not to pour gasoline on that, but instead to smother that fire and deprive it of oxygen. We get to gray rock the shit out of them. They need us to riot. They need to manufacture a civil war. The fact that we will not give them either shows that we, the American people, are figuring out how to win this game. We're not going along with the fascist playbook. Please understand the power we have to render their tactics and plans ineffective.